Kallup McCoy, so happy to have you here. Just knowing your story and having just a little bit of time that you have in Austin and being able to connect and record a podcast, super excited. So welcome to the show. Welcome to Collective. Welcome to Austin. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you, brother. I've been looking forward to this conversation and, connecting with people like you and coming on your show and hopefully connecting with your audience and, be able to inspire somebody, something I'm really looking forward to. So I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Absolutely. So you're from Cherokee, North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
You've been in Austin for the last few days, and it seems like you've just been sprinting.
Yeah.
Meeting everyone, doing all the activities. Can you give us a quick rundown of what the past few days have looked like for you?
Well, I'll back up for just a second because I came out here 1 month ago,
okay,
and I was on Jeremy Miller's podcast. Jeremy and I connected at the Olympic trials, and so I stayed out here then, ran a 50K with him, did his podcast. Then I'm back out here now, and I crewed one of my friends, Sophie, for the BPN 50 miler, and then
which was overnight.
Overnight, yeah, it was
that
was the theme, survive the night.
Yeah.
So I did that on Friday night, and then yesterday I was hanging out with what is today? Where am I even? Today's Monday. So yeah, Saturday just connecting, hung out with Maddie Johnson and Amanda Odgers, his girlfriend. Went to his housewarming party. Met a bunch of awesome people that I follow on Instagram there. Just rubbing elbows with some really cool people that's doing some incredible things with their platforms and stuff and businesses. And went to hang out with Matt Choi, who you just had on recently, I seen. And that's how we connected. And I was like, man, he got Matt Choi on, so I want to reach out to him and just try to make the most of my time while I was out here. So I went to Matt Choi's yesterday, did some contrast therapy. We hit a workout at Collective South.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, it's been a whirlwind. I got a podcast with Trip Ison later this afternoon, so just trying to boom, boom, boom. I go from one thing to the next.
You're a busy man.
Yes, sir.
Making the most of your time.
Exactly.
I love that.
As we should.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's no time to waste.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think you know that best, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a phenomenal story. I just want to unpack it. Let's dive deep. So right now people see you, you walk into the room and you have great energy, great presence, you're positive, great smile. Previously in your life, how old are you now?
30, but about to be 38.
Okay, 38. So years and years ago,
mm-hmm,
your life was a lot different.
Exactly.
Let's start with your first time getting hooked on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
What's that look like?
Man, I was 11 years old, which actually that's the national average age for first-time drug use.
Really?
Yeah. I was 11 years old, started getting migraine headaches, and just a lot of maybe genetics, a lot of trauma, a lot of stuff going on at home, dysfunction. Had a lot of love at home. My mom and dad are just amazing parents,
mm-hmm,
but they had their own crap. They had their own trauma that they hadn't been working through, and so I think that we can transmit that to our kids and to the people that we love. And so I didn't know how to deal with it, and I was prescribed this narcotic when I was getting migraine headaches, and it made me feel comfortable in my own skin. Right, and I wasn't thinking about the future. I wasn't thinking about the past. I could be in the moment, and I think that's really hard for a lot of people to do, is just be comfortable in their own skin, and it allowed me to do that.
Yeah.
So sports was always like a saving grace in my life. Loved playing football, basketball, running track, cross country, and that kept me out of trouble for years. I was still kind of mixed in the partying scene and everything. And then when I was 16 years old, before a football game, I did meth for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't even aware of the repercussions of it, and how bad or the road it was going to take me down.
Yeah.
And I was just using it as a performance enhancer before the football game. And so took that, got mixed up, it's constantly like that addiction is pulling you deeper and deeper. And, we make negotiations with ourselves, right? And so I started to do that, and I started to just tell myself I got this under control. And it was a slippery slope, and barely graduated high school, ended up losing opportunities to run track or play football at the next level, and lost my identity during that. I was an athlete, and then I didn't have those things, so now what? So after barely graduating high school, I had 2 sons with 2 different women, was not a presence in their lives because of my drug use. Couldn't hold down a job, got a concrete pumping business, lost that during the recession. I actually signed up for basic law enforcement training. I wanted to be, my only intention, I hadn't shared this a whole lot, but my only intention with that was to become a dirty cop.
Really?
I wanted to steal money, steal drugs, support my habit. I went through 2.5 months of basic law enforcement training with that intention. Ended up flunking out because I was snorting cocaine and partying while I'm going to BLET classes. And so I flunk out. I started doing MMA and had 3 amateur fights and did that for a year. So then I'm like, I want to be a professional MMA fighter. Well, that was short-lived. I got my arm broke my 3rd fight.
Oh, man.
And they prescribed me Percocet, and it was off to the races again. You know, then now I had my own prescription, so I could do my own thing. Never went back to the gym. That's when I was like 21 years old. And tried to go back to BLET for the 2nd time. Get there for the very first day of training. They called me in, the instructor calls me in, and he was like, "You cannot be here." I'm like, "Why?" He said, "You're under investigation for trafficking cocaine." Oh, man. Which I'm like pissed off, you know, I'm thinking like, why are you talking about that? But that's exactly what I was doing. So it was, you know, back out in the streets, ripping and running. My dad gets diagnosed with terminal cancer, and I'm 23 years old. I'm not holding down a job. I'm bouncing from job to job. But after the first 2 or 3 paychecks, I would dip out. It was like, all right, I want to go buy some drugs, try to support my habit, be a dope dealer, you know, and just sell enough so I can support my habit and not work. And that went on for years, man. My dad was diagnosed, like I said, with terminal cancer, and I was 23 years old. And that was some news I didn't know how to deal with. Only way that I knew how to cope was, you know, through drugs, you know, and through sex, partying, and just escaping and not being comfortable in my own skin and not sitting with the pain and not sitting with the struggle and adversity. I didn't know how to overcome those things. And so I think now looking back, and I talk about this a lot when I share my stories, I partied with my dad. Like, so it was almost like he was confirming to me what I was doing was okay. Right. Because he'd done that with his dad. But my dad was very successful, had his own business, construction business, employed most of my family. Was a great carpenter, man, built condos all over the place, houses. I mean, just really good at what he did. And I was thinking, well, I see him doing it. He can party. He can do all the things, you know. He can sell weed and cocaine like I can. And I couldn't, man. I mean, my addiction was just a lot stronger, a lot more crippling. And it was different then. I mean, there was a lot harder drugs, you know, that I was doing at the time. So I move in with my dad, and, you know, he's fighting pancreatic cancer, and I start stealing his pain medication and start stealing his checks, and he has to move out. My mom has to move him out of the house because they're separated at the time. They separated after I graduated high school, which I think, you know, that honestly made me have some resentments towards them. And I think a lot of times people that are struggling with resentment or struggling with addiction, they're hanging on to resentments. They haven't worked through those things. And so the way that they cope with those resentments is through drugs and alcohol or whatever it is, whatever addiction it is. And so I think that was a little bit of why I was doing what I was doing as well. But so anyway, she moves my dad in with her, and, you know, at the end of his life, he fights for 3 years. They gave him 6 months to live. Man, wow. He's a warrior. He was tough.
Incredible.
Yeah, and so I'm named after my dad, and I'm watching my dad just wither away, you know, and he's fighting this cancer, and he's battling this. And I remember at the end of his life, a nurse asked him, like, "Why are you fighting so hard?" And he was like, "I want to see my son become the man I know he can be." And the day before he passed away, he called me into his room, and he told me, like, just prophetically spoke this over my life, even though it would be years before it would come to pass. But he was like, he told everybody else to leave. It's just me and him in the hospital room. And he's laying there, and he's 130 pounds. Cancer's eating him alive. And man, I'm sitting there, and I'm looking at him, and he's got sweat beads. I've got sweat beads coming down my face, and I'm looking at my dad, and he was like, "You're going to come out of this one day, and you're going to do some great things for our family, for our community, and for the world." And I remember thinking to myself, because I was so consumed with shame, like that was my identity. Like, I didn't feel like I deserved the breath that I was breathing. That's how I thought about myself. I couldn't stand the man looking back at me in the mirror. And I was just thinking, no, I'm a junkie. Like, this is all I'm ever going to be. This is who I am now. And next day, I'm in the bathroom connected to this hospice room, and I've got a syringe pulled back, You know, I'm shooting up in the hospital room and hospital bathroom, and my dad's heart rate monitor flatlines. Literally pull the needle out of my arm, wipe the blood off, walk over to my dad's hospital bed, give him a kiss, and go right back to it. And that went on for years. You know, like, I've shared this a lot, but like there's low bottom addicts and alcoholics, and there's high bottoms. And I just kept hitting that bottom, man. I kept hitting that bottom, kept destroying relationships. I kept causing pain and heartache on my family and everything, and it never changed. And that just went on, you know, and you would think like, oh, this guy just lost his dad. Like, surely this is going to be the catalyst, right? This is going to be the thing that helps him get over this. Just right back to it, man. And overdosed 6 times, had to be brought back like with Narcan on 3 different occasions. I was just trying to destroy myself because of that shame after my dad passed away. And in 2016, I had a really bad overdose, and they called the EMTs. The people I was partying with threw me in a bathtub, threw ice water on me because I would start breathing, you know. Yeah. Trying to do CPR on me, just beating on my chest, didn't know what they were doing, just trying to do everything they could to keep me alive. My girlfriend at the time and a guy I grew up with. The ambulance gets there, EMT get there, and she starts giving me Narcan. And at this point, I hadn't been breathing in a few minutes. You know, eyelids are blue, ears are blue, lips are blue, gone. Mm-hmm. You know, she calls the ER doctor, and she's like, he's not responding. And the ER doctor tells her, like, if you have Narcan, you don't stop working on him. You keep fighting. So I come out of, you know, immediate overdose or withdrawal. I'm combative, run everybody off, tell everybody to get the hell out of my house. I don't have a problem, run everybody off, and right back to it again. Mm-hmm. Little did I know that EMT worker would become my mother-in-law years later. Wow. I was not even with my wife at the time. Mm-hmm. Like, we didn't really even hang out or anything. So it's just like the divine. It's like God's fingerprints all over my story. And I still didn't have the eyes to see, you know, during that time. Mm-hmm. So I finally get locked up, sitting in jail, 3 weeks into a 6-month stay, set my bond so high I'm not getting out. You know, and what's one of the things that I try to take with me now, like those lessons, like bloom where you're planted. It may not be where you want to be. Make the most of where you're at because there's a reason for it. Everything's interconnected. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sitting in jail, and I start writing out a prayer. I'm like, God, if you're real, show me something. Show me that my dad's still with me somehow. And I lay my pen down, and a pastor walks in, and it's a striking resemblance of my dad. And so here I am asking God to show me a sign that my dad's still with me. 1 or 2 minutes later. Wow. Comes walking into the pod, and it just stops me in my tracks because he's got the same pants, same belt, same flannel shirt. His mustache is trimmed the same way, same eye color, about the same age as my dad. Just his mannerisms, the way he spoke to me, the way he talked to me, called me son, like, was just so loving, man, and compassionate to me. And I remember what I just prayed, and then this man's standing in front of me, and he just shared the gospel with me, man. It was just like talking to me about, like, this is not yours to carry, and that's why you can't beat it, because you're trying to fight it alone. And like, surrender is not giving up. Surrender means you just stop fighting the way you've been fighting and allow the divine, allow God to step in, allow mentors to step in. And so that's what I did, man. I took that message that he shared with me that day, hook, line, and sinker, and I'm like, I want to start working on myself while I'm in here. Like, my addiction's out in the parking lot doing push-ups, and here I am. I'm not getting any stronger. Mm-hmm. I'm not making the most of my time. My time's doing me. I got to do my time while I'm in here. That way, when that door pops, I'm ready to go, and I can fight. And so I went from being combative, pissed off, angry, to accepting, to surrendering. And I would be in this, it's so crazy when I think about it, Matt, because I would look out the window, and I could see the Ingles like 200 or 300 yards down the road. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching the world go by, man. And I'm thinking to myself, I've been living in a prison. I've been living this way, even though I've not been in jail 15 years. I've been living in a prison in my own mind to my addiction for 15 years. I'm watching the world go by, man. I've got to do something different. Mm-hmm. You know, and I want to take this pain. I want to take everything I've been through, and I'm going to use that as fuel, right? And I'm going to use it to put good out into the world and to help other people change their lives. And so I'd watch people come in and out of the grocery store, and I would do it as a form of like training my mind and like suffering. Like, because it sucked to watch people live their life and you're sitting in jail for months and months, and the eclipse happened, right? And all the guys I'm doing time with are up in the windows watching it. I sat downstairs. I'm like, I'm not watching it. I don't want to see that. I want to remember what it felt like to have everything stripped away from me. Right? I want to sit here and in this suffering and sit here and just remember what this felt like, because I don't want to be here again.
Yeah.
And so I really just took that mindset, and I read just self-development books of faith, just really renewing my mind and my heart and my values and my standards, and started forming different things that were meaningful to me. Setting goals. When I get out, I want to do this, this, and this. And I'd never been thinking like that, but God was transforming me in that moment, or during that time. And around that time, I seen a newspaper article. My tribe does a bike ride called Remember the Removal Bike Ride. Do it every year in conjunction with Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma. They retrace the northern route of the Trail of Tears. I see this newspaper article. I'm like, that's it. That's what I want to do. Like, I need something to give myself over to. I need something to commit to. I need a hard goal. So I'm like, when I get out of here, I'm signing up for the removal ride. I get out, and again, it's like acceptance. I get out and I sign up for this bike ride, and they tell me that I can't do it because I have a felony drug conviction. So I'm like, man, like I instead of getting mad, resentful, I'm like, I got to find another way. Like, I didn't see it then, but it was God's redirection now, my whole career and my business is running. And if I'd have went on that bike ride, I wouldn't have been introduced to running. So I'm like, I tried to get the rule changed. They wouldn't do it. They were like, no, this has been established. We can't change it. Sorry. I went to my tribal leadership, everything, like on live TV, and I'm advocating for this rule change. And they tell me no. And I remember standing up in front of all my council members, my vice chief, community members, and I didn't even realize what I said in the moment. But I was like, if you're not going to let me ride the bike, I'll run to Oklahoma. This was like 3 months after I got out of jail. Come out of a 15-year addiction, do 6 months. I'm like 40 pounds heavier than I am now. Haven't been running at all. I did an Ironman 70.3 8 weeks after being released. So I was like introduced to endurance sports, and I love the community. I love just how it changed me and challenged me. That commitment to a process, delayed gratification, self-esteem, self-confidence, all the things that we learn through endurance sports. Fell in love with that. But here I am standing in November of 2017, just in early recovery, trying to figure life out. And I'm like making this bold statement of like, I'm going to run to Oklahoma. So I'm like, shit, now I got to do it, because I'm going to be a man of my word, because I'm not going to live the way that I used to. So trained for that run. May 14th, 2018, I embarked on that journey. June 28th, 2018, I finished in 40 days.
Good for you.
So that just like, through that journey, I just learned so much about like putting one foot in front of the other, getting up every day, no matter like emotions, feelings, how, like you said you're going to do something, right? You got to get up and you got to put your feet down and do your work, whatever that is. And so it just taught me a lot of discipline. I met so many amazing people along the way. Like now we've got this nonprofit, which I'm sure we'll talk about here in a few minutes, called Res Hope Recovery. But when I got to Oklahoma, they hosted us in a church out there, and that church is coming out next week to build our decking on our recovery home. Like they're paying for everything, paying for all the material, and it was through putting myself out there. It was through taking a risk. It was through just showing up and showing everybody like, this is who I am. And like getting behind a bigger purpose also, like it wasn't just for me, it was to inspire other people like me that are struggling with things, that don't believe in themselves, maybe life's beat them down. And like through that, I've made so many connections. And that's how our nonprofit kind of kicked off, was through that run. But I don't even remember your original question. I've just been riffing, brother.
I love it. Incredible.
That's how I got into drugs and kind of where I'm at now.
Holy shit. Well, I mean, just amazing story. And, one thing that was really touching was when your dad said to you, like, you're meant for more. Like, looked you in the eyes when he's on his deathbed and you saying that did not resonate with me at the time. The next day I'm back to doing drugs, and maybe the day of, and you're like, I can't accept this truth. I can't accept what he's telling me because I don't feel that way about myself. Was there a moment in life that you reflected back on that and you're like, no, he was right. I'm meant for more, and I'm going to actually achieve this?
Yeah, when I was in jail. It finally started clicking then, because you don't have to be in prison to be in prison. You don't have to be in jail to be in jail.
Sure, yeah.
A lot of people right now are walking around living in a prison, their own life, their own lifestyle, their own decisions and choices, the way that they live each and every day. But whenever I was in jail and everything was stripped away from me, and I didn't have anything but just a couple of people, I realized that was all I needed. That was what was most important, was being able to sit alone and be okay with silence, and be okay with the fact that I have caused so much destruction in my life, right? I have caused so much pain and heartache on people that I love, but yet thinking about, like, just sitting there and realizing, like, we can start over, and realizing, like, I can rebuild this thing. It's not over. No matter how far down you are, no matter how many mistakes you've made, it's just like getting back up again. And we got to own our roses, and we got to own our shit too, when we do good and when we do bad. And so that's the epiphany that I had. I'm like, okay, like, I've not been there for my sons. I've been an absent father. Yeah, I've got a lot of making up to do. But that's like one of the things in recovery, like making living amends by just how you live your life.
Yeah.
Sometimes people won't accept your apology. People won't accept when you go and ask for forgiveness. But if you can just live your life in a way which they're like, okay, like he's doing better now, But coming to that moment, man, it was when everything was stripped away from me, and I didn't have anything else, and I had to learn to walk through that, So that was like kind of that catalyst where I'm like, man, Dad was right. Like, I've destroyed a lot of things, but God still got me here for a reason. Like, all those overdoses I experienced, and so many people that I love, friends, family members that didn't make it. My sister died in 2019 to overdose. I have to do this. I have to make this right. I have to make the most of what I've been given, this second chance, this new lease on life. And that's a dangerous thing, man. Like, that's one of the most incredible positions to be in, is when you've went through the shit, you went through the storm, and you still have hope.
Yeah.
And you have a new lease on life. Like, you can do some damage. You know what I'm saying? Like, for good. Like, you can really change things if you just have that hope. One of the scriptures that I love is like, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. Like, I had been hopeless for so long, but knowing that, like, I have been, like, for whatever reason, God's kept me here. Like, now, like, it's time to do something. When I had that epiphany, like, I want to make sure that I make the most of this.
Absolutely. There's a incredible church here in Austin called Red Rocks, and one thing they say almost every single week is, God's not done with you. And that just, like, the echo of your story, like, God is not done with you and what he's doing to your life. And I think when you had that realization, things started to change, right? Was faith always present in your life? You're 16 years old, putting meth in your water bottle before a football game, at the hospital, shooting up when your dad is on his last hours. Was faith present in your life then, or was it until you wrote down that prayer in the jail cell, God, show me something?
Faith's always present. I just didn't see it. But no, it wasn't. It was not something that was that we talked about a lot, that we practiced at all. My dad would drop things on me sometimes and be like, remember your name. Like, your name comes from Kallup in the Bible. You're meant to be a leader. And he would say that to me from time to time, but we didn't really talk about God or Jesus or anything like that. And so whenever I came to faith in Christ through that encounter with that pastor, that's when, like, I started learning. That's when I started reading the Bible. That's when I started praying and fasting. And I think just like through that spiritual formation, like during my time in jail and everything, that's when things really started changing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I started connecting the dots then. Yeah.
What would you say to your younger self now? If you could have a conversation with you at 11 years old before that first encounter with drugs happened, what would it be?
What I'm saying to my 17-year-old son now, let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? He's having a tough day yesterday. Like, you know, I'm still picking up the pieces. I'm still trying to restore relationships. My oldest son won't even talk to me. And that's the hardest thing I've faced. Like, that's something I have to deal with. Yesterday's Father's Day.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard from my oldest son ever on a Father's Day because I've not been a father to him. And that's a hard pill to swallow, man.
Yeah.
Consequences of my actions, but at the same time, I know God can restore. If he restored me the way he did, he can restore that. And so, like, talking to my son yesterday, man, he was having a tough day. He's kind of going through it with some mental health stuff. Same thing I was going through. But now I've got the eyes to see, and I got the wisdom through the experience, through the mistakes, where I'm like, my mom called me. She's like, have you talked to BK? We call him Baby Kallup. He's the third.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad was Big Kallup. People call me Little Kallup, but then got Baby Kallup. But I was like, yeah, I talked to him. I called him, checked in on him, because he's starting to want to travel with me some.
Okay.
And she's like, did you see him okay? I was like, yeah, he was fine when I talked to him. And she's like, he's having a hard time. We need to check on him. So just like giving him the space, we went through therapy together, learned to talk about things. Well, I learned more. I don't know if, he's listening, right? They do, teenagers do, but they may not act like it. So, but yeah, man, just holding space. Like, I would wish my dad would have done that with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, set me down and say, all right, like, or just going on a walk, whatever it is, making that time to be like, what's going on with you? Are you okay? It's okay to not be okay, right? Like, New Jelly song. Like, I think just men understanding, like, true strength is showing weakness.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be tough all the time. You don't have to act like you're macho man and everything's okay all the time, because it's not. And that's okay.
Yeah. And
just trying to, like, send that message to him. That's what I needed. Yeah. And maybe my dad did it, but I don't remember. Maybe I just wasn't listening.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the case, honestly.
Yeah. I think it's a powerful thing now to be vulnerable and to inspire like you are, but also just, like, be a listening ear for someone, or just be a sounding board. Because, men, I think we have for years, like, the expectations be like, be strong, don't show any weakness, like, that's your role in society. And now when people are being more open to, okay, men's mental health is a real thing, mm-hmm. they're dealing with battles that nobody knows about because it's not encouraged to talk about. I strongly believe, like, it's, we always thought it was soft to show weakness, but I think it's soft to not try to become the best version of yourself.
Absolutely.
Like, how are you going to be a leader? How are you going to be a father or a friend, a son, if you can't be the best version of yourself?
Mm-hmm.
So for you, like, people see you today, you're running a nonprofit, you're running crazy races, you're inspiring, you're lifting weights in the gym. You could very well just be like, hey, this is Kallup today. I'm crushing it. I'm strong. I'm healthy. And never talk about the past. But I think your strength really comes from bringing up, hey, this is who I used to be. This is how I overcome. And, like, you don't have to go down that path. There's a better life for all of us. So I just encouragement to keep going, man. Like, it's super inspiring. And it helps a lot with people out there that are struggling to hear that message.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. I think that leadership is based on stewardship, mm-hmm. like how you steward your time, how you're intentional with conversations, how you steward your character, having emotional intelligence, how to name things, how to name what you're going through. Like, I think it's a very dynamic thing. And so learning how to tap into all these different things is something that's been important to me. Learning how to hold space for my wife, like, that's super important to me. We're wanting to have a family, like, leaning into that, like, starting over, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to be 38. My sons are about to be 18 and 19.
Yeah.
And we're talking about having another kid. Scary.
Yeah.
It's scary. So I've got to, I'm constantly trying to figure out how I can grow, because we're never done. Like, that's when we start dying, is when we stop be willing to learn.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm at with my life, man. Just trying to figure out how I can steward my life in all these different areas. That's leadership to me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, you've overcome one of the most difficult things out there, drug addiction. and now you're doing a lot of other hard shit with races, lifting, a different type of hard. I think you get a lot more fulfillment out of this, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It might not seem like anything to you because you're just like, hey, like this is bettering me, and I've overcome so much. Like I'm so grateful that I can work my body in this way. So let's tap into the running aspect. What was the driving force? I know you said you couldn't bike to Oklahoma, so hey, I'm going to run there. But after that, like you did one hard thing. Like, why do you keep going?
I think self-inflicted adversity is so important. I feel like as a society, we get stuck in a state of homeostasis and comfortability. We're never real cold. We're never real hot. We're never uncomfortable. And it's just like growing the muscle. We got to have resistance, spiritual, physical, mental. Like we need resistance to thrive as human beings. And so that's something that's really important to me. And when I was in jail, I was like, I'm not going to be stagnant. I'm not going to be mediocre, whatever that is, however I define that. I want to continue to learn to, like I said, steward my life, man. And I think that these races and everything, not only does it build character, it reveals character.
Yeah.
And so, like, putting myself in really uncomfortable situations where I learn more about myself. Like, I come to the end of myself and I kind of tap into that spiritual space, you know, like where I feel like I'm closer to God a lot of times. Like, and I don't have to go around 100 miles to do that. But every now and again, I like to really just get after it and see what I'm made of, you know. It's so rewarding to me, you know, and I think that's why I continue to do it. And also, too, like the community aspect of it.
Yeah.
I mean, in the ultra space, everybody wants to see everybody win. Like, it's not, I mean, yeah, it's competitive, but it's like people are out there, like, sharing food, sharing different, you know, whatever, chafing crane. Like, they're doing whatever they can to help you get across that finish line. And it's just so encouraging to see, and I love being a part of that. And that's why I love coaching. Like, I love helping people tap into their potential, helping them do hard things, helping them realize, like, that they are capable of much more than they think. And so that all those things are super important to me, and that's why I keep doing hard shit, man.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the community. That's everything, man. Like, I strongly believe one of the keys to success is, like, and fulfillment is surround yourself with good people.
Absolutely.
You can't change the world from your couch. Like, put yourself out there. And,
oh, that's good.
Yeah, I mean,
I like that.
Too many people, they're, like you said, they're in prison in their own life. Like, you just sit around waiting for something to happen, not taking action, not getting around the right people. And, like, just watching from afar, like, what your last few days have looked like, I'm like, this is the embodiment of, like, surround yourself with good people. And when I came to that realization in my life a year or two ago, like, moving down to Austin, trying to find new connections, I knew nobody here when I came down here. And being like, I'm starting from scratch. And I know there's an opportunity out here to connect and grow. I got to go make it happen.
Yeah.
And the moment that I started to make that decision and be around amazing people, my life just changed. My happiness, my fulfillment, my success, everything just complete 180. And yesterday, like, one of the people that really hit this home for me, who you met yesterday, or maybe you knew him before, is Connor Meekins.
Yeah. We got to spend some time together.
Man, like, every time with Connor, it's just like fills my cup.
Yeah.
Like, whether it's a 5-minute conversation or a couple hours, it's like,
well, he's so intentional. He's like right here with you.
yes, which is rare.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what it's about. Like, good people that encourage you, they ask the right questions, they want you to get better. It's so rare in today's society, but if you can find that, like, the sky's the limit, man. So I love that you touched on that, because, like, we talk about success and fulfillment as, like, the money and all the different things, but no, it's like, first off, get the right people around you. Like, then things start to change.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, that's one of the things that was important to me coming into recovery, was like, show me your friends and I'll show you your future, right? Yes. And, you know, I believe that a good life, a happy life, is built on 4 things: family, friends, faith, and work that serves others. Like, if you're checking those boxes on the daily, you got a good core group of friends that you hang out with, spend time with, super encouraging, positive. You got family members that aren't, you know, negative and gossip, and just, like, you know, you got to really, like, think about your inputs. Like, it's garbage in, garbage out, right? And so you got to be really, really intentional about what you're allowing in. And, like, the whole faith piece. For me, it's, you know, it's following Jesus. For somebody else, it might be stoic wisdom. Well, it might be whatever faith or spiritual practice they have. But we need something bigger than us to put things in perspective, to make us realize that we're not the center of the universe. We need something that's transcendental, in our lives. And then that work that serves others. If we live a life of purpose and stay out of self, because that's the whole thing with addiction. It's a selfish disease. It's all about the self, right? It's how much can I take? How can I consume? Mm-hmm. And so that's been something that's been important to me. There's those things.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you were definitely serving others now, and your work, coaching and a nonprofit. Let's start with the coaching. What was the driving force behind hey, I have the credibility to go run these races and to take care of myself. I'm going to go coach others, impact them, lead them. Talk us through that.
So after I did the Trail of Tears run, and then I got into the ultra space, I ran my first marathon, and the build up to the Trail of Tears run, I ran 5 hours and 25 minutes. Thought it was blistering. I thought I was running good, man. Yeah. Now my PR is 240, so it's like night and day difference. But I got into that, man. I did the Trail of Tears run, started doing ultras, and then I started having people just reach out to me, and it was like, "Hey, can you give me some tips?" Blah blah blah. I didn't know nothing, man. I mean, I was just
running.
I was just running, making mistakes, eating all the crap. Still, kind of unhealthy, but I was running a lot of miles, and so I had more and more people start asking, and I'm like, okay, there's something to this. I feel like God's leading me this direction. Mm-hmm. So I went and got my certification with ACE, became a personal trainer, started coaching people here and there, started coaching a couple of people, just giving them a couple little running plans and stuff. And I was working at a homeless shelter, and I'm super thankful for this shelter giving me an opportunity to work, because I was unemployable. I had no work. The work history that I did have, like I said, it was 2 weeks, get a paycheck, bounce. Yeah. So I'm like, I had these people take a chance on me, and I worked there for 3 years, and I started getting more and more clients. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, I want to take a risk. My wife had a good job, and I asked her, I said, what do you think about me doing this full time? And she was like, if you think you can make enough money to pay the bills, go for it, baby. So I was like, all right, gas it up, let's do it. Mm-hmm. So I put in my notice, left the shelter almost 3 years ago. Went in coaching full time, personal training, in person, personal training, and then virtual run coaching. I've coached, I don't know how many marathoners I've coached, numerous sub-3 marathons now.
Amazing.
Coached some Boston qualifiers. Coached my wife to her first 100-mile finish, which that's a hard dynamic.
Yeah.
That's a hard dynamic, because when I'll be out there on training runs with her, I'm like, she's going through it, right? Yeah. She's just going through the shit. And I'm like, I learned through a lot of mistakes, do you need me to be your coach or your husband right now?
Right.
So let's, they just act like holding that space for her and allowing her to be like, just go through it. And sometimes it's, I need you to be my husband. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I need you to just kick me in the ass a little bit and be my coach here. So, but anyways, it's through those relationships and through coaching people to be in their best, and tapping into that potential, that's been so rewarding to me. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it's work that serves others. So it's been, man, things are really growing. We put on a team event last year at Indianapolis Marathon. Mm-hmm. Had 15 runners show up. We got 2 Airbnbs. I got a videographer. Nice. It was lit, man. It was awesome. Great experience. We're going to do another one this December. So that's something that's so important to me, building relationships with my athletes. That's one of the first things that I tell them on a call. When we first have our call, I'm like, our level of success is going to be predicated on how well we communicate.
Sure.
I'm not just going to give you a plan and just leave you hanging. There have been times where I missed the mark, but I'm trying to be really intentional, checking in with my people, having them reach out to me, trying to be available. My wife says I'm too available sometimes, and I need to set better boundaries. But just trying to be there for them. It's something that's important to me, and that's the type of coach that I want to be. Mm-hmm. So
I love that.
Yeah.
One thing my mentor tells me is when people go hire coaching, especially in the fitness space, they come for the physical results, but they stay for their personal development because they become a better person, a better leader, a better father. What is one thing you like to coach your clients on the personal development side? It's not about like, hey, here's your tempo run today. Here's the walk lunge form. What about the mindset? What is one thing that you like to preach?
We're not robots, and we need to be super in tune and aware of like what we're going through in the moment. We need to be okay with pivoting, making changes, and that's something I really try to drive home. Like, it's not about the X's and O's, it's not about the paces. Like, let's go into each workout because each day might be a little different. You might have a little bit more stress going on at home. Yep. Like, you might have just broke up with your boyfriend and going through it. You had a bad day at work. You got fired. And so I try to have them be super aware of what's going on in their life and make adjustments on the fly. Mm-hmm. And I think that just takes a lot of pressure off themselves. And so that's something that I really, really try to drive home. Mm-hmm. Having that body awareness, that self-awareness of like, what do I need today? How can I be my best today? And your best may not be hitting that tempo run. It may be taking a rest day. Yep. And that's okay. So that's something that is important to me as a coach.
Yeah, it's amazing. Talk to us about the nonprofit. You're doing amazing work there, obviously serving others, but it's got to be so fulfilling to you to help people with issues that you once went through and say like, hey, I'm now stepping into leadership and I'm serving my former self. Talk us through that.
Yeah, so the nonprofit is Res Hope Recovery and Consulting. We've got a men's recovery house, which is called the Gadoogie House. And Gadoogie in our language is community. It's a very dynamic word. And back in the old days, we used to do what is called a Gadoogie call. We would put out a Gadoogie call. And that was when somebody was that's when we help a person in need without judgment or hesitation. We just come together and help this person. And so that's why we wanted to name our men's recovery home the Gadoogie House, because these are men who are in need, of hope and support, stewardship. Like, we need people to be pouring into them. And so I'm excited about going through their daily routine with them, starting their day. That's probably going to be my role. Mm-hmm. My wife's the executive director. We're hiring peer support specialists and recovery coaches to be staff. So people that are like us, people have the similar stories as us, coming out of addiction. Now let's get them jobs in that space, because you can sit down with a psychiatrist and who's done all the schooling and everything, and that's one thing. But, whenever you're sitting across from somebody that has been in it, that's something different. That's a more profound impact. And so we want to have people working at the house that have that type of background. Mm-hmm. My friend has a podcast, and he always shares about, like, people with wounds listen to people with scars. And so we want to be employing people with scars that's been through it, that's healing, and that's growing. And, so my role in the nonprofit will be just like personal development, coaching, routines, just being there for encouragement, check-ins with the guys, probably doing some transportation here and there. Mm-hmm. We're building an on-site gym. We just put in for a big grant. Awesome. We haven't got confirmation, but it's looking good. I think we're going to get the grant, so we're going to build an on-site gym. It's a multi-purpose building. So I get to build out my own gym the way that I want to. It might be a little bit like collective here.
There we go.
Yeah, man, this is sick. So, we're going to do that. We're going to have a family room for visitations. Well, I don't like saying that because it sounds like jail. But we're going to have, for the guys to have space to visit with their family members. We're going to have another room there for a house manager. So once we get the program up and running, and we've been doing well for a while, we'll have somebody that's been through the program stay there, work out some sort of deal with them, rent-free or something, buy their phone, pay their phone bill. Yoga room, studio, we're going to have sauna, plunge, all the stuff. And so that'd be my role, just coming in, coaching day to day. And it's so important to me, like, because then it's like work that serves others. Yeah. That's one of the things that I want to get back to, because I've been out of that space because I've been coaching full time. Mm-hmm. So now being able to go back to men that, man, they got 3 days clean, 3 days sober, and like, seeing that desire, seeing that fire in their eyes of like, man, but also seeing that hopelessness. Like, guys that don't know if they're going to, like, man, I kind of want to do this, but I'm unsure. Mm-hmm. Like, it's my job to walk through that with you and to help you. I'm going to believe in you until you believe in yourself. And so that's something I'm looking forward to, because the roles are going to be changing a little bit for me, but I'll still be coaching full time too.
Love that.
Yeah.
What I hear from you right now is passion for both coaching and the nonprofit. And it's so rare in today's society because a lot of people, they're chasing just the paycheck, status. And you talk to people like, oh, what do you do for work? Like sales, tech, name different industries. And you ask, try to get deeper. Like, what does that look like? What do you like about it? Just like, oh, it's a grind. And like so unfulfilled. Always talking about negative, almost like it's a flex. For you, being so fulfilled with your work, and you're passionate about it, you're helping others, you're making real change in people's lives, what would you say to someone who's going down a path that they aren't fulfilled and they're just doing it for the wrong reasons?
Man, obviously life is short, and I think it's so important for us to be aware of, like, where does this lead? Like, let's play the tape through. That's one of the things that we talk about in recovery. Like, if you keep making this decision, where's that going to lead? Where are you going to be in a year, 3, 5 years from now? And so I think just being really aware of, like, where does this end? And, just asking that type of question, because we're not promised tomorrow, and I think it's really important that we be bold and step out on faith a lot of times and make that change. If you're not happy, like, that's on you. Like, you got to make that change. Nobody else is going to do it for you. And that's one of the quotes that I love, like, change won't happen until the fear of change, of staying the same, is greater than the fear of change.
Yes.
And so, did I just butcher that? Oh my gosh, I did. Hang on, I got to get that right, brother. Change happens when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the fear of change. Yeah. And until you get to that point, nothing's going to change. So play the tape through. Is this where you want to be, 5 years down the road? And if not, like, step out on faith. If anything, like today's conversation, like, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Testament, walking testament.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. On this podcast, I want to interview people that I view successful in any way. And you are an embodiment of that because you overcome, you're working in fulfilling spaces, you're serving others, just your presence, like, you're doing incredible work. So I want to ask you, how do you define success?
Do you have joy in your life? And I think joy is not something it's not something that's external. It's something that we should have, even in the midst of adversity, struggle, difficult circumstances. I think that having work that serves others, having relationships that feed our soul, that help us to become our best selves. I don't care about you, bro. My bank account ain't big. You know what I'm saying? But I guarantee you, there ain't nobody just as happy as I am. I guarantee you, ain't nobody has the amount of purpose in their life that I have. And the bank account might change and it may not. But success is not predicated on that, right? So if I get more money down the road, that's awesome. If I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, my bills are paid, my family's happy. That's success to me, man. My relationships are good. I've got an amazing wife. I'm healing with my kids. I've got a nonprofit where I get to help change lives. That's success. It's not about what I wear. It's not about how much money I got in the bank account. It's not about my house. Like, I know what it's like to suffer. I know what it's like to be without nothing. I know what it's like to have people look at me like, man, he's a piece of crap, But I also know the good. I also know the other side of that. So I can be content wherever I'm at. It's like Paul talks about. I know what it's like to be abased. I know what it's like to be abound, and I know how to be content in every circumstance.
Right.
I know what it's like to sleep on a metal bunk for 6 months, eating friggin' jail food. Like, I'm living my life, bro. I'm sitting by Matt Loopy right now, like in Austin, Texas. We living, brother. Yeah. So, that's success to me, man. That's success. Like, and those are the things that's important. All this other crap's fleeting. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can change overnight. You can have a bad day, lose all your money, house burned down, then what you got? You know what I'm saying? If you're putting your happiness in that crap, man, you're in a bad spot. You're in a bad spot. You better not have a bad day. So, yeah, that's success, bro.
Yeah. What keeps you in that lane and not going back to the old lifestyle?
life, man, the life I've built. You know, build a life that you're proud of and that you love to wake up to. And it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, satisfaction comes from struggle. Like, if you want to be deeply satisfied in something, you got to put work into it. And what I'm living right now. I've put work into it. I've struggled. I've made mistakes. I've been through the shit. You know, I've disappointed my wife. I've let people down. But at the same time, man, I know what it's like to be at my bottom, and I know that if I just keep getting up, I'm going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, bro.
Yeah, I love that. What does the future look like for you? I know you're doing amazing work right now, but like 10 years from now, is there something new you want to step into? Is it exactly where you are right now?
It's a great question. Man, you coming in hot right now, bro. Okay, Transcon next year.
Yeah?
Tell
us about that.
So I'm planning on starting in March of 2025, and I'm going to run from San Francisco and go to Wilmington, North Carolina. So we're going coast to coast.
Mm-hmm.
I want to raise at least, I'm shooting for $300K, raise money for our nonprofit organization. I want to make it unique because I'm Native American, so I want to hit different reservations along the way.
Awesome.
Connect with my other relatives, Native relatives. There's a route of the Trail of Tears. It's the only one that comes back from Oklahoma to North Carolina. It's called the Junaluska route. Nobody's ever ran it. I want to include that in my Transcon run so I can get my people involved as well and raise some awareness of who we are. We're still here. Mm-hmm. We're resilient. We're a proud people. So that's something I'm looking forward to. And I got to finish before my son graduates. So I got a time crunch.
Yeah.
We're going to be moving. We're thinking like 60 miles a day. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I got a vasectomy when I was 20 years old. Mm-hmm. So now I'm like going through this process. My wife and I are talking like, do you get a reversal? Do we get IVF? Like, you know, we're talking about all these different things. And so just trying to navigate that, you know, and looking forward to, you know, expanding our family over the next couple of years. So that's on the horizon. I know that she wants to eventually step away as the executive director once we get leadership in place. And we want to move. We've been talking about moving for years. Mm-hmm. Several different places, you know, Montana, Austin now. Austin's definitely in the top 3.
It's got to be.
Yeah, for sure. Atlanta's up. I love the Atlanta area. So, yeah, man, I think moves on, you know, in the cards here soon. Expanding our nonprofit. We've already been making connections in other communities across the country about, you know, potentially bringing our program there. So maybe we just do some different plants for the, you know, we plant different spots for our nonprofit organization. So sky's the limit, bro. Yeah. I'm not putting any limits on God. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see where it goes.
That's great. I'm excited for you, man.
Thank you, brother.
Excited to watch the journey.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah. What is one thing that you believe in that most people would disagree with?
I believe in that most people disagree with. I don't know, man. That's a tough question.
It is tough.
Man, I wish I could answer this. I know when you asked me this before the show, I was racking my brain. I can't think of anything good right now.
That's good. I mean, I think just knowing you, like, you can overcome things.
Yeah.
That are beyond, like, you feel like are beyond you. God
makes
works.
people.
Like,
I mean, yeah. I guess a lot of people don't believe that.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't believe that.
I think a lot of people just think too many things are outside their control.
Yeah.
And like you can't make that positive change, or you need to wait for someone to help you. But like you have it within you, and you can pull on faith. You can pull on your inner strength to like actually change something about your life.
Yeah. Definitely. I agree, brother. I know I'm still racking my brain over here.
It's all good.
Yeah.
We'll get a good answer.
Okay.
Last question for you.
Okay.
For someone listening to this that they want success in their life, they don't know how to get there, they don't know what path to go on, what is one piece of advice you would leave that person with?
I think that your purpose is where your pain and your passion intersect. That's what I've found. And success, I think, if you want to find it, start there.
Okay.
Where your pain and your passion intersect. What are you passionate about? What's been your biggest struggle? What's been something that's been the thorn in your side, so to speak? Like for me, like it's giving back to people in recovery, people struggling, people fighting addiction. That's my pain point, and I'm passionate about helping people. I'm passionate about building people up. And so that's what I've found. Like, start there, and also to enlist mentors. I think it's really, really important to reach out to people that have been on a journey much longer than you, that's been through it, that's made mistakes, that's had success, been through the ups and downs, been through the trials and tribulations of life, and just letting them glean wisdom on you, like in your life and everything's so important. So start there, passion and your pain intersect, and enlist mentors.
Amazing.
Yes, sir.
Mic drop to finish it.
Let's do it.
Kallup, thank you so much.
I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for doing everything that you do in the running community, in personal development, coaching, nonprofit, everything. Like, you are an inspiration to so many, and I encourage you to keep sharing your story, keep going, and excited to see everything you achieve in the future.
Yes, sir. I'll come back on after we do TransCon.
Let's do it.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, I want to be. If you come through Texas, Oklahoma, I'm there. Let's do it.
Okay. All right, y'all heard it, everybody. We're going to get Matt Loopy out there with us.
I'll run like half a mile with you.
Okay. I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you.